Texas House Democratic Caucus Chair Trey Martinez Fischer of San Antonio. Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
So I wanted to ask what your response is to how UT handled the protests on Wednesday at its campus in Austin.
Well, Jack, they always say hindsight is 2020, and as reports are coming in and different accounts from that day, I mean, I think it's fair to say that university did not do its best work. I mean, these are very tough circumstances, but when you have these types of events happening on campus, you have to prepare and over prepare and assume the worst and even plan to see how you can overcome that. Again, I mean, I look at things from my perspective. I come from San Antonio. I represent the University of Texas at San Antonio. There are 35,000 students on that campus. We had just as many state troopers and just as many local police officers. You didn't see a single one of them on campus. You saw a campus working overtime to try to allay any sort of unease and do everything they could to quell any episode from becoming violent. And again, I mean, it's not a criticism of the University of Texas, but it's certainly a contrast to show that there are ways to do things and things could have been done better.
And so you're saying police went too far?
Well, what I'm saying is I think that somebody has to assume responsibility for what happened. That begins with the president of the campus. As a campus leader, I think you have to decide what are the methods and tactics and the strategies that you were using, and to determine if those are sound, and if any officer, just like any student employee, were to go overboard, then it's incumbent upon the leader to make those adjustments. And so, like I said, we're still getting those reports, but to me, it is not supportable to just put this in the hands of any one individual without having accountability. And I think it's important to see just what happened during the chain of command and at what point did communications break down that led to this escalation on campus.
So what do you say to those who say UT really had no other choice but to take action because of the planned occupation by students and their refusal to disperse?
So, look, that's a fair point. But again, college campuses across the state also were dealing with this very same issue, and we had lots of different outcomes. And so, I think what I'd say to UT Austin is what I'd say to my campus in UT San Antonio is that, hate speech is not acceptable under any form, full stop, and especially on college campuses. And I would also say that when it comes to maintaining, the community life and student life on campuses, colleges have to work extra hard during these times, 24/7, 365, not just the night before a protest. And I would also say that there is no room for hate on these campuses, and that we have to respect all sides, and that everybody has to follow the rules. That does not give a license to anyone to throw a journalist, a cameraman on the ground. That's no license to throw a professor on the ground who is clearly not a violent threat. There's a Fort Worth-based reporter who's been covering politics since the 1960s. He fell to the ground. I'm not sure how, but we should be better than that when it comes to controlling crowds and controlling controversy. And it has nothing to do with picking sides. The only side we should be on in the state of Texas is on the side of peace and justice, respect, and responsibility.
And what are your thoughts about the fact that Travis County dropped all of the charges?
I think it speaks for themselves. I mean, I'm not a prosecutor. I do a lot of work as a lawyer, and dismissals and refusals to prosecute don't just, they don't come gratuitously. There's obviously a good reason. I'm sure, that as any local prosecutor, they have the jurisdiction to continue to study those cases and maybe bring charges in the future. But to immediately dismiss them for a lack of probable cause, that is a very fancy way of saying there was nothing there. And again, this is a very big deal. This was the face of the nation for a few hours on Wednesday, and we are better than this in Texas. And there is a way to have peaceful debate, dialogue, and disagreements, and we do not have to escalate. And I worry, though, I think it is an observation that because this campus maybe is too close to the governor's mansion. Maybe they felt like they had to be extra judicious and strict with their enforcement of these policies. But like I said, my university down the road had a very similar situation with a very different outcome.
How concerned are you about the threats to Jewish students and whether they feel safe on campus?
Yeah, I mean, I feel for all students and whether they feel that they're targeted or safe. And like I said, there is no room for anti-Semitism. There is no room for hate of any kind, whether it's who you love or the color of your skin or the zip code that you live in. You know, we should respect and coexist on campus. Campuses have to work harder in this day and age. You know, very quickly, these things become controversial. And in the day of social media, these things could quickly escalate. And again, I think when you know that these are the conditions that exist on a college campus, I want to know what the operational plan was. I want to know, you know, why we have one outcome on one campus and why we have a similar set of facts on other campuses with different results. I think it does need to be studied. This should not be because you protect free speech, you are anti-Semitic. This should not be because you believe in a student's right to protest that you're promoting hate. I think that you have a right to protect those rights, but I also think you have a right, obligation, and responsibility to be respectful of all views.
And again, what about the rules? Because UT President Jay Hartzell put out a note to students and faculty explaining why it was that they took this action. They felt they had no choice. They said they had to make sure that the rules were being followed.
I think that that is a fair point. I guess my question would be, does that automatically require riot police and riot gear with physical weapons? And does that require, you know, altercations that resulted in physical contact and potential injury? I'm not so sure that the remedy met the response. And so again, I mean, it's important that we understand these things. And President Hartzell, you know, has the absolute right to protect the students on campus, but I don't believe you can justify that, you know, by letting other people get hurt in the process, especially, you know, people who are innocent spectators, some of them are which are doing their journalistic duty to capture the news. You know, I think we can all agree that we did not do our best work that day. And I would hope and expect that we have some lessons learned and we have some new approaches.
And my last question to you, Mr. Representative, is that I spoke with Senator Creighton earlier, and he said he believed that DEI on college campuses contributes to the anti-Semitism that we're seeing. What do you say to that?
I mean, I would, you know, I would ask Brandon to be better than that and to be bigger. I mean, sometimes the words DEI are the only letters that come out of his mouth. I would also ask him if he's so concerned about escalation of tensions on campus. You know, perhaps we should evaluate, you know, the relationships between neo-Nazism and the Republican Party of Texas by and through Nick Fuentes. I certainly want to work with him on that, but I don't think you can just say DEI as a panacea to all things that go wrong, whether it's on a college campus or on aisle 5 of the supermarket. I mean, I would ask him to be better than that. I would ask him for bigger minds to come out with a very, very practical solution to very, very complex problems.
Texas House Democratic Caucus Chair Trey Martinez Fischer of San Antonio. Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Jack.